The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Katherine Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus, the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers from miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to 4-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
At the LTC in the Sheboygan room, and this gentleman will introduce himself and provide some rules and regulations for the evening, and also give us a little bit of a lead as to the itinerary. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, my name is Richard Wiegand, and it's the 14th of July, 2003, which you already got. Tonight we're going to be talking, I guess, about Buschmann's Tavern and the businesses before and after, whatever. We got a couple of ground rules. When you want to say something, raise your hand. And when you speak, wait till he gets over to you and then give your name first, clearly, and then ask your question. It makes it a lot easier for transcribing the tapes later. When you introduce yourselves, we're going to go around the room and say who we are. If you can think of some teacher, grade school, high school, whatever, that had a profound impact on your life, try to remember what that was and who it was, and mention it when you are introduced. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, one more thing, Richard. Could we introduce ourselves as the group that we are, please?
Yeah, we're the, I call it the Greater Centerville Oral History Group, or Greater Centerville Historians, or something like that. So that's what we've been calling ourselves. Centerville, including the village and the township, and some other surrounding areas.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Richard. Okay. I'll start on with this young lady, if she'd like to introduce herself and indicate a favorite teacher that she recalls. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I only had one teacher for 8 years. So, who was it? Norma Cooney.
Norma Cooney.
Yeah, I think she taught down in one of the schools down here too, Pigeon River, before she came to Elder Grove near Kiel.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And you want to introduce yourself one more time, sir?
Yes, my name is Richard Wiegand, and I've had too many teachers. Not too many, but I mean, I've had so many, I can't think of anything offhand. I mean, there's a lot of different things that influenced me one way or another, so I don't know if I could put a hand on it right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And you, sir?
Charlie Bauer.
And
I think the teacher influenced me the most was Charlie Hine, woodworking.
Okay, very good. I can understand that, sir. And who do you have here, please?
Dorothy Anderson, and I had two teachers in grade school, Mrs. Benji that for 3 years, and she was a strict one, and then Mr. Schnell for the rest of the years.
Okay.
And they both had a lot of influence on us.
And that was in grade school?
Yeah, down here in Hika.
Oh, okay, very good. And you, ma'am?
Edith Litzy, and well, I only had two teachers too. One was a Miss Banky, and afterwards Jenny Knudsen. And Jenny is still living. I just got to see her at a restaurant the other day.
Oh my goodness, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Kathy Wagner, and I don't have any teachers.
No favorite teachers, huh?
Well, I have some favorites, but I mean, that's from way back.
Go right ahead, take a shot.
And well, all of my teachers were nuns from
Okay.
Holy Family Convent, Holy
Yes.
Family College,
Okay,
and stuff, and they all made an impact.
wonderful, thank you. And you, sir?
Vernon Kress, and like Dorothy Anderson, I had Geraldine Benji and Walter Schnell as teachers.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Dolores Kress. I had one teacher, Evangeline Meyer.
Okay.
I guess she's Schultz now.
Okay.
And she was a very good teacher.
Very good, thank you. And you, sir?
I'm Lloyd Vogel from Cleveland, and I can only remember two teachers in Red Arrow. One was Millie Herman, we got away with murder, and the next one was Carol Allensong, and she laid the law down, and she was the best teacher we ever had.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you. And you, ma'am?
My name
name is Rosie Bushman. I now live in the town of Sheboygan.
Okay.
I had Teddy Wilmer at Taylor School for the first 4 years.
Yes.
The second 4 years was in a parochial school. the
Okay.
nuns.
Very good. Thank you. And you, sir?
I'm Roger Miller. I'm not really from the village of Cleveland, though.
Okay. But,
Would have any bearing on your...
well, that's okay. We just would like to know if you had a favorite teacher.
No, not really.
Okay, thank you. And you, sir?
Dave Cole from Centerville,
Yes, sir.
and I guess probably my favorite teacher was my apprenticeship teacher, my electrical apprenticeship teacher.
Wonderful. Very good. Was that at tech school?
That would have been at vocational school in Sheboygan, which was originally Central High School.
Yes, very good. Thank you. And you, sir?
Edmund Schmidt, I went to a parochial school, and I don't remember the names of the teachers anymore.
Okay.
Just got a lot.
Okay, and you, sir?
Walter Kress, and I'm from Hika.
Yes, sir.
Irene Scheffler was our teacher.
Uh-huh.
I had to behave. She boarded at our house.
Oh, boy. Very good. Okay, and you, ma'am?
I'm Florence Kress, and I went to a parochial school at Spring Valley, St. Fidelis.
Okay.
And, well, my teachers were all, nuns were all nice, but the first grade teacher, she made you feel welcome.
Wonderful. Very
Weren't
good.
afraid to go to school.
Yes, very good. And you, sir?
I'm Lloyd Matthias. I went to Center School. I had a few teachers, but one was Harold Drum, and the last one was Althea Lorfeld.
Really? Okay, okay. And you, ma'am?
I'm Alice Matthias. I went to two Catholic schools in Manitowoc, St. Andrews and Sacred Heart.
Okay.
And the old theory that they always use rulers, that wasn't true in my day.
All right, very good. Okay, and you, ma'am?
I'm Irene Dine. I went to Red Arrow School, and
Okay.
my second grade teacher was Adeline Tyson.
Okay.
And she gave me my first piano lessons before school started in the morning.
Wonderful, thank you. And you, sir?
I'm Roy Lipke from the town of Mimi, but I went to the Schwartzwell School in Sheboygan County in town Herman,
Okay,
and then to Howard's Grove
all right.
when that became a consolidated school district.
Okay.
So I had many, many teachers.
Yeah, I would
too.
say you did. And myself, Jerry O'Neill, and the videographer for the evening. The teacher I remember well was at Valders High School. Mr. Schermacher was my wrestling teacher, and he controlled everything pretty close, and it helped me an awful lot. Okay, Richard, anything as far as you want to get the thing started?
Yeah, Richard Wiegand, I guess we'll start with the subject at hand. Whoever's got the, oh, we got the photo here that was sent to us. We will start with that. Who's on the horses here? Or no, what are they?
Yeah, horses.
Yeah, they're
Horses,
horses.
yes. Who's on the horses here?
Okay.
Sure.
Does anybody have that
Anybody
one?
know?
Sure I know it is. I know it is.
It is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we rode our horses in the 4th of July parade. When we first came to the farm, we were in horses, and we used to show horses and ride. But then the horses spooked because of that sign. My daughter and I are on the horses, and Donald is trying to hold the horse down because they kept rearing because of that going like this all the time. So we had to abolish the sign and just ride the horses. But I would not ride a horse in a parade today again, I'll tell you that much. You know, there's danger involved, you know, and especially when you rear like that before you ever start. So that's what it was. I thought I'd surprise you all.
Very good.
Okay.
Where's the building in the back? Where is this?
I think it was behind Old Central High School.
Oh, that's
And
what
there
it
was
looks like.
Yeah,
Is
there was
that
another
Hughes School?
building. Pardon?
Is that Kuhl School?
No, it was in Sheboygan.
Really? I thought there was a Kuhl High School.
No, that was behind Old Central High School. We rode for Sunny Ridge.
The back part, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did he look at the back?
I'll take a shot of that, Kathy. That's a good idea. Okay, and Kathy, you are on the left-hand side?
The dark brown horse,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, very good. And that's your daughter?
Yep, Diane and Donald.
And your husband is trying to maintain some
Yes, get the
control
horse
there.
to not rear up.
Very good, thank you. Richard has some other regulation that he just sort of failed to acknowledge, so we'll let him do that again.
Okay, one other regulation we have is when somebody else is talking, please be quiet. All right? I will attempt to enforce it, but I don't have a gavel or anything. Anyway. Okay.
And Kathy, you want to get things rolling then as to our subject matter this evening?
This evening, we have Rosie Bushman with us, and she's going to tell us about their former establishment. And was it Buschmann's Bar? Or what was the name?
Yeah, we had Bushman's Bar.
Oh, okay,
When
we'll start.
Joan Carroll started the K9.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll start with you then.
Okay.
Well, we moved to Cleveland in 1960, took over the Tavern, which Hank and Laverne Schwinn were in. They moved the post office out August 1st, and then the Clintners come and remodeled the whole thing to make it a side room so that we could, they drywalled and put linoleum in and all that kind of thing. We rented until the spring of '62 when we purchased it. Sorry about that. Then we remodeled the side room, the bar room, and had a makeshift bar in the side room so we could keep on serving. Schnell's built the bar and paneling on the walls for the bar room, and by the fall of '62 we purchased a roaster and remodeled the side room again with paneling and so on, put in new windows, decorations. We served lots of family dinners, communion parties, birthday, weddings, anniversaries, fish fries on Friday, chicken on Saturday, hamburgers, steak sandwiches, chili constantly during the week. It was a big time for us. We sponsored baseball teams, bowling teams, deer hunting parties, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Art Reiser was the only one I remember, and then Matt Klettner, then Joe Scheitz, then Hank, and then us. Then we sold it to Davy Down and his wife, and then they in turn sold it to Roger York. And then we had a stranger in between there. I don't remember. Anybody remember who was in between there? Anyhow, then Faye Buddish bought it, and well, since then we had the fire, and it's only a small little building left. But I understand they're planning on building on, so that they can get into the food trade more so. I don't know, I guess, I did bring lots of fox pictures along, and my husband was always a fox trapper, and I brought some pictures like that along, and I brought some photo books along from the Tavern, if anybody wants to see that.
Okay. Very good.
Otherwise, I don't know, anything, yes, for him?
Question?
Richard Wiegand, were you the first owners of a bar or restaurant there? Or was that
We bought it from Ed Wagner.
Ed Wagner? And do you know what the history of that building was before you were in there? You know, what different things you mentioned, the post office?
Post office was in, we took over July 1st, and August 1st, the post office moved into the existing building that's there now.
Okay.
And that's where we got the side room from to serve food and things like that. And we got into it bigger as time went along, but after a while, you're working day and night, and we decided that's enough. So we sold it in 1972.
Do you know how old the building is?
No, I have no idea.
When year did you get in?
1960. Dominic Wagner, I guess, really originally owned it. Somebody told me. That was that Ed's dad then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, some of you would remember more of that than I.
Okay, as far as the Wagners, there seems to be a double Wagner going on here. You're a Wagner, and there was a Dominic Wagner?
Dominic Wagner, I guess, was the dad, and then Ed was one of the kids.
Okay.
But I don't think Ed himself ever operated it. I think he just, not to my knowledge anyhow.
Okay.
But I think Al did, didn't he? Al and Mildred?
Did they?
I don't know, I tried to call Ralph, but they didn't answer, so I couldn't get any information. But it was a hotel too then, when Wagner's had, they had rooms upstairs.
It was called K9 when the time that Joe and Carol were
Yeah,
there.
I remember that. I didn't remember who you bought it from, but you bought it from Reiser?
We bought it from Ed Wagner.
Oh, you bought it from Ed Wagner.
Kathy, could you just get into the history? Is it in the book there? Just,
Well, no, the only thing that's in the book here is that that it was a post office.
Yeah. Introduce yourself and then explain some of
Yes,
the...
sir.
Very good. Thank you, Richard.
Post office, you know, whatever you know about the building, because some of the people here have been here longer.
Okay.
Kathy Wagner.
Yes, very good, Kathy. Thank you.
I looked through our bicentennial book because I thought that we must have covered it in there. but I didn't find it there, except that it says the first postmaster for Cleveland was John Hills, and the first post office was operated in a house on Hazel Street. And then at Wagner's Hotel, which is pictured above.
Okay.
This hotel is now known as Yerkes Bar. The present post office was built in 1960.
Okay, one thing I think we need to establish also, what street is the, this tavern on, and in relation to what things? I know there's a railroad track nearby. What side of the track is this building on?
On the building's on the west side of the track,
Okay,
and it was 1024 Hickory Street.
okay,
Yeah, they used to throw the mail off out
Okay.
of the train onto the ground, and someone from the post office would go and pick it up and take it in and sort it.
okay, very good.
Well, here and there, passengers got off.
All right,
It was just unreal.
okay. And how old, if I may ask, were you at that time when that took place?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it must have been in the 40s somehow. Yeah.
Okay,
I was born in 1927, whatever that makes it. I don't care. Nothing to hide on that.
okay.
I know one day a lady called me up and she said, "Did the train go through?" I says, "Which one?" "Well, the right in front of your house." Well, I says, "We never even heard it anymore. You know, it blew
Yeah.
the horn, but you don't hear it as." She thought I was.
Thank you. As a question, go right ahead, please. Identify yourself.
I'm Alice Mathias.
Thank you.
I have a little question for Kathy. She mentioned that John Hills was the first postmaster, right? And did he work out of the post office? Because he was also a photographer. And you said Hazel Street? And that was on the corner where the house that Wiedemeyer's live now?
That's where Hills lived.
Yeah, that's where Hills lived. Is that where he worked out of? No?
He lived.
Richard Wiegand, I think my guess is maybe the postmaster wasn't a full-time job. Does anybody know? So that, you know, Hills could have been running his photo studio, or that wasn't a full-time job, and he put the two part-time jobs together and he just kept running across the railroad tracks. I don't know. Does anybody know?
Yeah, please.
I'm Alice Mathias. According to my thinking, the man's name was John Hills. And we have an old picture at home that's, I can't remember who it is of, but anyhow, it's John Hills Photography, Cleveland, Wisconsin.
Okay,
And that Mr. Hills was Audrey Kinnear's grandpa, right? They used to be former residents here, Eugene and Audrey Kinnear.
okay,
The Hills were her grandma and grandpa.
okay, very good. Here is some information about her husband, I believe, and
Yes.
some other people. Go right ahead.
Yeah, my name is Rosie Bushman, and my husband foxtrapped for many years. This is Roman Bondi with him, a first cousin.
Okay.
And this was in 1966.
1966. And do you have any kind of account approximate that we're looking at?
No, I don't remember
It looks like
that.
100, I would say.
Oh, more than that.
And he got them locally?
Oh, yeah, in a radius of Sheboygan, Manitowoc area. All this stuff was rural those days. There wasn't all these houses everywhere.
Okay,
So,
all right,
yeah, I don't know how many miles he made. I think he made 200 some days.
okay. Could you hold up the other picture right in front of the next one, if you will?
In front of it, Roger.
Okay. That's good.
This one here was from 1967,
Okay.
and
right,
also that's Roman Bondi and Ray Buschmann.
Okay. Did they work together in this
Yes, yes.
trapping thing?
Mhm.
Okay, and you got some more? You might as well just stack them right up there.
And that's the one from 1968,
Okay.
also Roman and Ray.
My goodness. Okay.
And this one's 1969, and if notice there's a gray fox, the only gray fox they ever got.
Okay. All right. Now, was this display in your...
In the side room.
In the side room of that
At the tavern,
tavern?
yes.
Okay, very good.
the one that burned down that side?
Yeah.
Okay. You might as well put all the rest of them right
Okay,
there.
and this is the 1970 picture with the same two guys, Ray and Roman.
Okay.
And then this is the 1971. Was there one more yet? Or no, that was what it was.
That was it.
And that's also Ray and Roman.
Okay, very good.
But see, it got lesser.
Yes, I see
Some of
that.
those had three tiers.
Yes. Okay. Now, if he was out doing all the trapping, who was running the business?
What can you say? Well, we did have, I don't know if everybody here remembers Reuben Bubolz, I believe. He lived we had a rental apartment upstairs. That's what's burned
Okay.
out now.
All right.
And he lived upstairs there, and he tended bar for his rent.
Okay, all right. Any other employees that you might be able to name?
Oh, yes, like Lorraine Vandlo, she helped me every Friday with the fish fries.
Okay,
And also did a lot of extra, when we did the sewer, the water in Cleveland, we had those guys for breakfast, dinner, and supper, and she'd come over and she'd make sweet rolls and things like that.
okay,
I had Joe Yankunis, which everybody knows here, I believe. She'd come over and help me.
okay,
Oh,
Yep.
yes, and Millard Bogenschutz was a big help.
okay. By big help, did some of them were cooks, some of them were waitresses?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay,
There was always plenty to do.
okay.
As far as the bar room, they had nothing to do with that.
Oh,
Or cleaning restrooms, I think, that was all my job.
that was your job.
Yeah.
You tended the bar?
Well, no, my husband tended bar. This was only a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know how many weeks to say that went. I'd have to lie. I don't know how many weeks it was, but
All right.
I was glad when it was over.
All right. Now, as far as sponsorship of other things, you mentioned like bowling perhaps?
Yes, we had
How many teams?
two
and what?
bowling teams. Ray had one and I had one. Lloyd was one of Ray's guys.
Okay,
And Pinky Cutsy's husband was one of them. And I had like Hank Schwinn and, I can't remember who was all in on that. Lloyd, you know.
Sure,
Howard Yeager.
yeah,
Lloyd, can you help us out here?
sure. I'm Lloyd Vogel,
Yes, sir.
and for Ree's team, if I remember right, it was Pinky Sixel.
Okay, could you, instead of a nickname, could you
Okay,
give us?
Donnie Sixel,
Yes, sir.
and Ronnie Huntsman,
Okay,
Myron Sohn,
okay,
myself, Lloyd Vogel, Howard Yeager,
Wasn't Gene?
Gene Lutzy, that's right, Gene Lutzy.
okay,
That's all I can think of right now. And for Rosie's team, that was Edmund and Gordon Pippert, Joe Scheid, Hank Schwinn, Stanley Bull?
Did Stanley
I don't
Bull?
know Stanley Bull.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
now,
sure, maybe
as far, okay,
And then they do like a 60-40
Yeah.
for lunch between the two teams,
all right, sure, sure.
things like that.
That'd be great.
And then those baseball teams that we had, or we didn't really sponsor them, but they all ended up by our place in the backyard where they do brats and beer
Yes.
and I remember those glasses, those days we didn't have paper glasses, we had glass glasses. And they were all full of brats, grease, and one of our friendly customers volunteered to come in and wash them. And the next morning I looked and I washed them. He wasn't very careful about the grease. So I thought, oh boy, I gotta remember not to let that happen again.
As far as going back for a moment to the teams, where did they actually bowl in the area? Nearby or far away?
Howard's Grove.
Oh,
Starlight Lanes.
that was gone. Yeah, Howard's Grove, yeah, Starlight Lane.
Starlight Lanes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wilmersville, then
Now it's called something else, but JB,
GB, yeah, GB something, yeah.
JB
Yeah.
something, yeah.
very good.
And the ball teams too, all congregated in Cleveland, and sometimes they played in Howard's, I believe. I don't really remember where they all played, but I know after the game, they all rushed to get the bar stool.
Okay.
There was never enough of them.
This goes into a little bit of some citizens who patronize the bar can get a little unruly at times. Did you have any trouble with people?
Oh, sure. I know my husband jumped over the bar once, the big man he was, but he grabbed the guy's cap and he slung it out the door and he says, and follow it.
Very good, very good.
Oh, yeah, there's incidents, but never, there was a bad one.
Okay.
Shouldn't even, from Lakeland College, they were, what do they do? They,
Hayes?
well, I don't know, they look for trouble.
Oh,
And anyhow, there was a guy in our bar room, and I don't know, somehow he told everybody he was a Polak. And those guys started chanting Polak, and he grabbed the bottle of beer that he was drinking and followed those guys out the door, broke the bottle on the
Oh,
iron
no.
railing,
Yeah.
and slashed the guy.
okay.
That
Yeah.
was trouble.
It was trouble, yeah. Okay, otherwise, all the citizens were pretty well behaved and enjoyed a good evening.
There's 99% good. There's just always a bad egg in every basket, I
Yeah,
guess that's what
that's
you could
right.
say.
Sure.
It was fun. It's a fun life, but it's a lot of hard work.
Okay,
If you don't want to work day and night, it's no place to be.
okay. And again, the year span that you had control of the facility was what again, please?
1960 till September of 1972.
Okay, all right. Very good, thank you. A bit of more information, and she'd like to introduce herself, please?
My name is Rosie Bushman, and we went down to Hika Bay for 57 weeks to
And
run it
when did this happen?
in 1974
Okay,
into 75.
All right.
Tavern year is always July to July, fiscal
right.
year.
okay,
But we took over at Memorial Day weekend for John Twizy and Ron Pedersen, who owned the place, but their renter wasn't doing them any justice, so John stopped and says, wouldn't we want to take it over? Well, we did run it, and we said, why are we doing this for somebody else? Then we should have kept where we were. So then we told John we'd leave, but we stayed for 57 weeks.
all right.
That was in Hika Bay, and then we did sell it for
Okay.
them.
Oh, okay. So that's the old Hika Bay Tavern now you're
Yes,
talking about?
Yes, that's right. That was
Okay.
interesting. There was no food except pizzas, no kitchen work like I had at the other place. It was easy.
Okay. And is there a living facility at that tavern
Yes,
also?
yes.
And you lived there too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you moved everything lock, stock, and barrel. Very good. And,
Like a bunch of gypsies.
and if I may ask, who bought it from you at that time with that tavern?
He's, Peg, no. Can't you remember what? He's on 10th Street now. Gil Miller. Gil Miller, that's Gil.
Very good, folks, very good.
Gil, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you. Please, and indicate what your thoughts are.
Dave Cole from Centerville.
Yes, sir.
Getting back to this fox trapping, do you have any idea, remember what the pelts were worth at the time, or what kind of an income? Okay. I'm just
Okay.
kind of curious.
Yeah,
but-
very good question,
I'm
thank you.
sure I knew, but I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Question, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. I had the same question that Dave did. Rosie, do you know you don't know the value of the pelts?
No.
Do you have any idea how much a fox pelt is worth compared to a mink pelt? And I know a mink's a little animal, a fox.
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. That's so long ago.
Yeah, and I guess, well, Dorothy was just asking me, I can ask the question. What did they do with the pelts? I mean,
They sold them to these, there's these guys around that buy.
Okay.
I could know the name, but I don't remember.
And I have one other question. Could you name some other fox trappers? I mean, apart from the people that, were in the photograph?
Doesn't Jeff Stege do some trapping yet, or anybody?
Do people in the room know people who do?
Like I mentioned Jeff Stege, he did do for a while. I know when we lived in that house in Cleveland, we could watch him in the morning go down in a creek down there, and I knew he was monkeying with pelts.
Well, he came to the Wiegand farm all the time too.
He did?
Yeah, he trapped in our house.
Oh, okay. Well, he could tell you more about what some of the, well, sure they aren't worth now what they were worth then. Those days it was much better.
Some additional information, go right ahead, please.
I'm Florence Kress. At the Newton picnic, we talked to Jeff Stege, and he went and talked to different people. He says, I can't sit, I gotta ask these if I may go hunting and trapping in there on their
Okay.
property.
Oh, so he's still doing it?
I'll still be doing it.
Okay, and does he live around the area?
Sure. He lives up in, what do they call it? Oh, Stegeville, yeah.
Stegeville.
Up at, where the water tower is.
Oh, they call that
Yeah,
Stegeville?
they call it Stegeville.
Okay.
See, that land belonged to the his father.
Okay. Oh, yes, that's right. And how old is Jeff at this time?
Your guess is as good as mine. He would be about
48, 7.
48 or 47 or something?
Sandy's 48.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that age.
Very good, thank you. Would like to introduce yourself, and we got some more pictures to look at, please.
Thank you for the yell. These are pictures that were taken inside the barroom at 1224 Hickory Street in 1966.
Okay, I'll pan over to the pictures here. Okay, this it looks like an outside picture.
Yes,
And again, you were located on the west side of the tracks, is that correct?
yes.
Okay. Very good, and you owned the property at this time, 1966.
Yes, we bought it in 62.
All right. And it looks like you sold, I'm going back here, Schlitz beer? Is that-
Probably.
Probably, huh? Okay. Very good. And this is an internal picture inside the bar room, and the gentleman that's tending bar, you indicated he had a nickname of Bubbles, but can you
Bubbles?
give us his full name, please?
Yes, Reuben Bubbles.
Reuben Buballs, okay. And he looks like a little elderly gentleman. How old about was he at that time?
Oh, retirement age,
Okay.
65.
All right. Was he a constant bartender all the time, or?
Just a couple hours.
Okay. Very good. And how many customers could you seat at the bar approximately at one time?
12 about, I would say.
Okay. Okay. Did you have any kind of gambling devices there, or
That's
was
against the law.
That's against the law. You got an A for that one, dear.
Those are unspoken events.
Unspoken. Did you have any pools of any kind for
sure.
football, you know, that type of thing? Sure. Okay, very good.
But
Very-
we slid through that all.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Lady here who'd like to say a word or two. Go right ahead, please.
Edith, let's see.
Thank you.
I can always remember there was a corpse at Schlossenberg's funeral home. Ben Buschmann's bar was always loaded later on.
Oh, really?
Always.
Always.
Everybody went there after that.
Thank you. There's a question, but he'd like to introduce himself.
Charlie Bauer, and I got a question here for Rosie. Rosie, on this fox hunting or trapping, was that trapping or was that?
Trapping.
That was trapping. Was that done with a box trap or a steel trap? And what did they use for bait?
A clamp-like thing.
Okay.
I can find some picture like that too.
Who would like to identify herself, and she's got some pictures to display. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Rosie Bushman, and this is my husband, Ray, and his cousin, Roman, getting ready to decide where they're gonna put their traps all.
Okay. And I see they're holding some things in their hand. That
Yeah,
is
that's
the
the
traps.
trap.
Okay. And we've got some additional pictures in the field.
And then here is Ray when he's coming to a fox.
Okay, that has been in the trap.
Yes.
Okay, and he's got a device in his hand that will slip something.
Yeah, choke him, that's what he did. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And then here's where he's setting another set.
Okay. Okay.
See, and they saved the fox urine for scent
Oh, really?
that they put on that trap that would draw them.
Okay, I'm going to ask a stupid question here. Does fox meat, is that edible?
We didn't eat it, I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just asking if that is a...
I have no
The gentleman here will identify himself, but he apparently had some personal contact with this situation with fox hunting, with the owner of the restaurant. And would you identify yourself, please?
Sure, I'm Lloyd Vogel, and once in a while, like on Saturdays and Sundays, if Ray wanted somebody to go along, I'd go along with him. Not very often, but a few times.
Yes, sir.
And it was very interesting because you drove up to the area, but you not too close,
Yes.
and then you gotta get the fox calmed down, and he'd take that little device he had
Yes, sir.
and choke it, but you couldn't have any blood. And then you take, like Rosie said, the urine and spread it around again on your footprints, and
Okay.
so that it would hide your scent of a human being.
All right.
And there's sometimes that Ray was saying you had to move the trap if you had a accident that it would cause blood. You had to move the trap, but most of the time you could leave them right the same place.
Okay.
And then a day or two later, you'd have another fox if the scent would cover up your
Okay.
footprint.
Now, did you have any bait in the trap itself? No. Huh?
Not that I remember. I think you just had the scent from the fox.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't go along that often, but I remember just it was very interesting when I went along with him.
Okay.
It was
And
fun.
what year was that when you did that?
I have no idea. I have no.
In one of
In one of
these-
these, yeah, I have no idea what year it was. Just one of those years we needed this
Okay,
year. Yeah.
very good, thank you. We'll introduce himself, and he's been looking at some pictures. Go right ahead,
Yes,
please.
Richard Wiegand. We've been doing some research here in one of these albums, and we find an article about trapping foxes. And it explains all kinds of stuff here. So maybe what I'll do is I'll read it if people want to hear it. I don't know.
Okay.
If it's important to anybody, I'll read it.
Okay, sounds very good, Richard. Give it a try.
All right. This is dated January 10th, 1968.
And this, pardon me if I interrupt here, is this information from Mr. Wagner? Or from
Buschmann, yeah.
Or Buschmann, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Mr. Buschmann?
it's,
Thank you.
the headline is Cleveland Trapper Takes 95 Foxes in 2 months. It says your 95 foxes were caught over the past 2 months by a Cleveland Tavern operator who took up fox trapping last year as a hobby. The smiling 200-pound trapper is Ray Buschmann, who learned the art of fox trapping and learned it well from his cousin Roman Bondi of School Hill.
Okay.
Buschmann trapped all the foxes within a 5-square-mile area of the Cleveland area. His trap line extended on both sides of the Manitowoc-Sheboygan County line. But foxes caught on the north side brought a bonus of $2.50 per head. Bounty is still retained by Manitowoc County. There's a comment there, I don't know why, but state bounties and the bounty in Sheboygan County were rescinded a couple years back because conservationists felt that the funds could be put to better use for conservation projects. What Buschmann might have proved, taking 95 foxes in a smaller area this year and 52 in the same area last year, is that fox populations are greater than conservationists thought when they removed the bounty on the small game predators. Buschmann himself believes that foxes are detrimental to pheasant populations, and his opinion certainly seems convincing. Quite an interesting fact is that Buschmann caught 2 foxes this year that were wearing collars. They had been pets. One of the collars was new, but the other was identified by Dwayne Hoon of Route 1 Cleveland as a collar he put on a pet red fox back in 1959. 68, this is 9 years. It's a good indication of the lifespan of a fox. Fox trapping is commonly thought of as a winter sport. The traditional way of outwitting the theoretically cunning fox is to bury traps in a manure pile along with goodies like chicken remains, aftermath of a newborn calf, and such things. Horse manure is preferred because it does not freeze as quickly as the other types. But while the traditional fox trapper is puttering around with all of this excess, while he is confronting temperatures, freezing temperatures that freeze up traps and the snows that bury them, Buschmann is all through until next year and has a wall full of fox pelts, which incidentally bring about $4 a piece nowadays from the fur buyers. Buschmann starts trapping in November. His sets are so simple as to almost make the cunningest animal look stupid for falling victim. The traps are set right out in the open fields, along farm roads, cow paths, and similar places, which Buschmann learned are the routes foxes travel. They do not generally run in swamps, brush-thick woods, and such places. So Buschmann puts one or two traps in a likely place, a cow pasture, near some fox dens, or maybe just a place where a farmer mentioned seeing a fox run. The traps are simply staked to the ground, covered with light sprinkling of chopped straw, spiced with a few drops of fox scent, which can be purchased at a sporting goods store. After the first catch, the trapper has the start of his own supply. It may be the next day, or it may be 10 or 12 days before you get one in a new set, Buschmann said. But then you usually get one or two more within the next couple days after you get the first one. He checks his line every morning about sunrise. It is about a 2-hour or 40-mile run, which can be accomplished only by bumping over fields and farmlands in Buschmann's Fox Deluxe Mobile, an early 1950 model car converted into a Foxmobile because the odor after a few trips makes that car useless for any other purpose. A byproduct of Buschmann's new hobby is the polecat, which was waiting to greet him no less than 50 or more times this season. He shoots and disposes of the skunks, even though the skunk hides are actually worth $1 per pelt on the fur market. Bondi, Buschmann's cousin and also a veteran trapper, does all of the skinning, and the profit is a two-way split. All of the hides have been cured and placed on display this week in Buschmann's Tavern, where he and his cousin are being, I can't read this, but I would say toasted or honored or something tonight for a party. Oh, a party for all the farmers. They have a party for all the farmers who let them trap on their lands.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard. He's a few minutes late, but he'd like to introduce himself and give us a little thing about a teacher.
Melvin Hayes, and I went to Pleasant Hill School, and I had a Miss Turkleson, her name was, and I had her for 6 years.
Okay.
And then she went on to be superintendent of schools in Manitowoc County.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Good information. Thank you. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I have a question for Rosie. When you said that you were asked to come into the Hika Tavern, where were you, or what were you doing?
Oh, we rented.
Present it to the lady here, and she can introduce herself.
I am Rosie Bushman, and when we left the tavern for Davy and Doris Down to move in, we went across the street, what was called the Bailiff's apartment buildings.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called now, if anybody knows here, but at least we were in an upstairs apartment there.
Okay. Now, were you retiring out of the business at all? Or?
Yes, we retired for a couple of years.
All right.
Then we went back to work again.
All right. Very good.
And we both retired from Lakeshore Technical College.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a mail clerk and he was a security guard.
Okay, very good.
After the tavern business?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay, great.
We retired in 1989.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Introduce yourself, please.
Richard Wiegand, as long as everybody's mentioning who their teachers are. I was in Pleasant Hill School also, and I had Olga Voss for 7 years, and then she left and went to Sheboygan School District, and then we had Fred Trittner Jr., or the third, I don't remember what his title was, but he taught for 1 year, and I think he was like 20 years old, or something like that. He wasn't even, out of college. Fred Trittner, who has recently retired from the Sheboygan School District also.
Okay.
He's from the Berry Farm. I had a comment about fox hunting, and we should get off of this pretty soon, but in Europe, I don't know if anybody's ever done this, but in Europe, the rich people or the farmers or whoever they are, they take their hounds. They let some foxes go in the morning, and they get on their horses and they ride after them, and they shoot these foxes after the hounds chase them all around through the woods. This is very common in Europe, and I think they're thinking about banning it. I think in Britain or someplace. No, so that's a very common. It's a sport. It's not really hunting wild foxes. It's taking foxes and then letting them go, and then chasing them.
Is this where they have the dressed up people are all in sort of red coats and
yes. That's why I
blowing
said
horns?
I don't know, but
Okay.
I know that when Ed Klessig said that when he went to visit his relatives in Germany, or in Austria, I think it was somewhere, he said they were also doing this.
No
They
kidding.
went out in the morning on their horses and they chased the fox around for a couple hours.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Kathy Sixel, and in that photo, it's like a white house that Catherine has. When did it change to look like your house? Did you remodel it? I mean, it didn't look like that when it was your tavern.
Who wants to answer a question, and she'd like to introduce herself?
I'm Kathy Wagner, and I'm answering Kathy's question. It said the first post office. What was the question? Oh. I don't know when they remodeled it, but this was the Dominic Wagner building.
Okay.
And that's the same one that Rosie had.
And what year, is there any year given here on that picture?
No, there's no year given on this picture.
So this is the way we feel the building looked prior
Before
to...
1960, because it says the present post office was built in 1960, and that's not this one.
Okay, very good, thank you. Here, who'd like to introduce herself, and we got another picture to compare.
Yeah, my name is Rosie Bushman, and this is the front of our tavern here. that's the way it was when we were there.
Okay. And indicate what happened when a fire took place?
The north half burnt off. There was, I don't know if it was a wiring default or something, but that part of it burnt away.
Okay.
So they just sided it up for the time being, and they eventually plan on putting a side roof back on again.
Okay. Now, there seems to be a lot of room area upstairs. Was this a hotel at all?
Well, I guess years ago. But
Okay.
we rented out one half over the side room, and we lived at the part over our bar room.
Okay, and you rented it out to individuals, is that right?
Yes, Donald Dines lived there quite a while.
Okay, all
And
right.
then this Bubbles, Reuben Bubbles.
Oh, okay. So he lived there and then he helped you out in the bar room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good, thank you. Yourself, please?
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. Rosie, did you ever have any trouble with inspections? Did the inspectors come around and check the kitchen, or?
Oh, yes.
And the other question I had is, what other kind of interesting things happened while you were in the tavern or bar? You know, what sort of exciting things happened, or maybe in the village?
Not exciting.
Pertaining to anything exciting happening in your establishment, and you've got a unique little story. Go right ahead,
Yeah.
please.
We had a cute little dog, Cindy, and she'd like to hang around the barroom by the guys that would feed her beef jerkies, because that was one of her glories.
Okay.
And this one particular day, Bobby Ulrich, one of our friends, was holding this little dog and feeding her the beef jerky, and in walks the state inspector.
Okay.
But he had no idea the dog lived in a tavern here, so
Okay.
we got by with that one.
Okay. Normally, dogs are not allowed.
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's where his food preparation area.
Okay. Any other exciting things that might have happened
I
unusual?
remember there was a New Year's Eve once where the weather was so terrible and we had a full bookings for dinners, 7 o'clock setting and a 9 o'clock setting. And during the day, the phone would ring and they'd be canceling out. And before the evening was over, the bar was full, all the local people come. So we got rid of all of our food anyhow.
You did, wonderful. Thank
So that
you.
was a real exciting incident too, because
Right.
what do you do with everything that's
Yes,
prepared?
that's right.
And
That's
it
right.
was a bad storm.
Sure. Well, everybody weathered the storm, as they say.
Well, locally, it wasn't that far to go home
That's
anymore.
right.
and-
Sure.
yeah.
Very good.
So-
Thank you. Excited about a story. Go right ahead, sir. Introduce yourself.
I'm Lloyd Vogel, and I know from going to Buschmann's Tavern a few times, every time a lot of trains came through Cleveland,
Yes.
and if any train can do with 5 engines, you got a free drink.
Oh, really?
And everybody kind of knew that. And here Bobby, the same we're talking about, was plowing, and he happened to see a train go through.
Uh-huh.
So he pulled the pin off, and here he comes down to Cleveland. I met him that day coming to the tavern with his tractor. Well, that's unusual for him to come in the morning for a drink already.
Yeah.
So I stopped there too. What's the occasion? Well, 5 engines went through. Well, you gotta have a drink then, right there. So Bobby had his drink, went back plowing.
That's right, I remember that, yeah. Here he comes to the tractor, he said, I seen those 5 engines go by and I
You
was,
knew what was waiting for
I
him,
knew
huh?
what I was waiting for. Yeah, here's Cindy.
Thank you. And a question, and she'd like to introduce herself, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I have a question for Rosie. Can you tell me your background, who you were, your maiden name, and your brothers and sisters, your siblings?
Oh, sure.
Go right ahead, please.
All right,
Introduce yourself.
My name is Rosemary Bushman,
Yes.
and I'm from Edward Schwinn and Loretta Grease was my parents.
Okay.
And I am the oldest of 6, and I have a brother Jerry Kohler, brother Charlie in Howard's Grove, brother Jim Sheboygan, brother Lenny in Howard's Grove,
Okay.
and my sister Arlene Held from Kiel is my
Okay.
sister.
Very good. Large family.
Well, 6 of us, yes. And we all get together about every 6 weeks, 5 weeks.
Wonderful. Great. Great.
Yeah, we're very family oriented.
Now, as long as we got you sort of indicated how many was in your family, your husband, anything you
My
can
husband's
indicate?
family was a family of 15.
15.
Yes. 13 Brays. 2 of them died in infancy,
Okay.
but there's lots of them gone now.
All right.
My husband's gone 9 years. It was 9 years April 20th that he's
Okay.
gone.
All right. Very good. And if I may get a little bit more involved in your life, you were married at what time or when?
Got married November 13th, 1948.
Okay.
But he said it was leap year. He didn't have a chance.
It was done for him, huh?
Yeah, that's right. It was done for him.
And you had a family also?
Well, we lost two of them, but we
Okay.
have one, Diane. She's married to Robert Vanderheiden, and they live
Okay.
in De Pere.
Okay,
And they've got Katie and David and Danny.
okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Kathy Wagner,
Yes, Kathy?
and I just wanted to say that Rosie is my cousin.
Okay, and that's a first cousin?
Yes,
Okay, very good, thank you.
her dad and my dad were brothers.
Wonderful, good.
Matthias.
Go right ahead, yes.
And
good.
I have one little recollection of Buschmann's. Years back, we went through our long dresses when Buschmann's were in business. I always remember going, well, you'd go to a church wedding and there'd always be that time in between, and everybody would go by Buschmann's,
Okay.
and we'd be struggling with our long dresses. I remember that.
Oh, okay, you mean as a wedding party, you're saying?
No,
or-
no, not at his wedding, when long dresses were in style.
Okay, okay.
So those were the years.
Okay, very good.
Buschmann's were in
Those were
style.
the years when dress was important.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Nowadays, they go
And everybody would go to Buschmann's because they knew they would get a good drink.
Okay.
Ray knew how to make them.
thank you.
There was no measuring.
Yeah.
Bushman,
Yes, sir. Yes,
We
ma'am,
were-
I'm sorry.
we were in a tavern before we come to Cleveland at Clover.
You were, now could you name that tavern?
Clover Inn,
Clover Inn, at Clover.
yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
That's between Manitowoc and Cleveland.
All right,
Anyhow, we had a pool table, and my husband, a bumper pool table, and he was good at that. He could clean that board off all the time.
okay,
And it got to the point, you talked about gambling before, okay?
yes.
And he got going at that thing, and, oh, I tell you that one guy kept coming in, and we got a vacuum cleaner, and I forget what all he got out of that man with this shooting pool. And I was worried sick that this guy was always out of money, that there would be trouble, that
Huh?
his wife would probably get a hold of some of us. So one day a guy come in and he said something about, Ray was gone somewhere, I don't know. The guy come in and he says, boy, I wish that we could have get a table like that. I says, this one's for sale. And when Ray come home from wherever he was, the table was gone. I'll tell you, my graces weren't too good that day. But I was glad it was gone, because that was really, that's winning when you shouldn't.
Yeah,
How long were you at that other tavern?
2 years,
okay.
yeah. And then he raised the rent, so we left. We come to Cleveland, yeah.
And did you rent that tavern or buy
Yes,
it?
no, we just rented.
You rented it, and who owned the property when you rented it from someone in?
I can't tell you that, I don't
Okay,
remember.
all right.
That's,
Now, have you been in other taverns besides the two that you're mentioning? As far as ownership?
no, we went to Oconto for, I don't know, 2-3 months for somebody, also as a manager just,
Okay,
but till it was sold.
okay. And we talked about you had food there and so forth, in the side room and everything. And you started out strictly with a tavern only, a bar, and then said, maybe there's something we can do here to improve business? Is that what happened?
That's right. Well, everybody wants to eat, and
Sure.
we started with the hamburgers and the steak sandwiches, and then we bought the broaster,
Okay,
so that we could roast chicken
okay,
and did fish fries.
all right,
And we did family-style dinners where we made all the desserts and
okay.
the mashed potatoes and the stuffing and all
All
that
right.
kind of thing. Oh, yeah, it was a real plus for the business.
Okay, very good. Now, a tavern owner's life is a lot different than normal people working a
Oh, yes.
8 to 9 or 8 to 5 job. When was your day off?
Well, we locked up for 2 weeks,
And you worked 7 days a week?
yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, we had a bartender now and then.
Yeah, yeah. But you could take off for a while and let the bartenders take over?
You wake up tired every morning. Yeah, there's just no way out of it.
Right, right.
And you had to get going, because all of a sudden it was lunchtime, and then
Okay.
they'd come in for the burgers and things.
Okay, now that brings a question. What time did you legally open up your tavern?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. My goodness.
And if we weren't open, there was somebody rapping sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much. Who has a question or two? Go right ahead.
I'm Charlie Bauer, and I was gonna ask Rosie, which tavern did you own in Clover? There's just two of them
We
there.
didn't own.
Oh, you didn't own it,
We only rented
you rented it. So which one was it?
the north side.
The north side. That's the one with the dance hall upstairs. Did you have any dances when you ran the
A
establishment?
few parties, but we were only there 2 years, so. No, we had a few parties up there.
And then across the street from your tavern would have been
Prebix, Frank Prebix.
Okay,
Now I know.
okay,
But that, where we were in, that is now an apartment building.
okay.
That is not a bar room any longer.
All right, thank you. So, please?
Yes, Richard Wiegand, I got a couple of questions. When you went out to eat or drink, where did you go? I mean, if you went out somewhere else, and did you sample other bars and taverns to know what you might do better? I mean, was there some scouting around that you did?
I think everybody does. But one of our nicest things that we did when we, like sometimes on a Sunday, things got quiet by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And as soon as possible, we'd lock the door and we'd go into Sheboygan, like Everett's Lodge, or a place where everything was background music and real nice and quiet. Or there was a place in Manitowoc, I can't remember the name of it. We would go like a place like that, not necessarily to eat, but just to be waited on, or pampered, I guess, or something like that.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. Well, to go out to eat, well, we would always, with St. Anne and Supper Club. There weren't so many places to eat like there is today.
What about in Cleveland?
There was no place.
Sample around Cleveland, no?
Riverdale and Supper Club in Manitowoc were two of them. And then Arts 151, which is now Luigi's in out of Manitowoc, west of Manitowoc, that was another one that we went to sometimes.
At the time you were in business, was Rutherford's in business also?
Yes.
Okay,
That burnt in during that time.
all right,
That's in one of the books.
okay. And was there any trading back and forth with clientele?
We got their waitresses and bartenders and cooks.
Okay,
They come up there.
okay,
Even some of their patrons that were in the motel.
okay, very good. Thank you.
And I said, "Are you from Cleveland?" And I says, "Yes." Why, what made you ask that? A stranger. And he says, "Well, you got a Hika-based shirt on." And here it was, they were on their honeymoon when Rutherford's was still existing. And he just had remembered that. What a coincidence to meet up with somebody like that. They stayed at Rutherford's for their honeymoon.
Okay, very good, thank you.
They were in the Hika-Bay Tavern.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Rosie, introduce yourself, please.
Richard Wiegand. And Rosie Bushman mentioned that Rutherford's burned down at the time that they were running Buschmann's Tavern in Cleveland.
Okay,
And in one of her scrapbooks here, she's actually got the newspaper clipping from the Rutherford fire.
all right,
And it says on the top, it says $300,000 fire levels Rutherford's motel.
okay,
Explosion spoils chance for control.
okay.
You know, I didn't read the rest of the article, but this was when, 1963,
Okay.
December 1963.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
We would like to supply some more information, and he can introduce himself, please.
I'm Willard Matthias. I was the second one at the scene of the fire today.
And that was for what, Rutherford's?
Rutherford's fire.
Okay, and you belonged to what at that time?
Cleveland Fire Department.
Okay,
And Hanson, what was his first name?
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy Hanson.
could you give me his full name, please?
Clarence Hanson and I were the first ones there.
Okay,
And I walked into the bar room, I walked out, all the fire was in between the walls,
uh-oh,
ceilings
okay,
at the time. And he took the pumper, went over to the dam to get that hooked up, and I had the water truck, and at one time we didn't really know where to start fighting that fire. But then all of a sudden it started coming out of the barroom ceiling, upstairs, outside.
okay,
We could see it coming through.
yep,
And it was out of our control already because it spread so fast.
okay,
And myself and Tommy Kleckner, we were gonna go into the hotel with the hose to make this, that it wouldn't go into the hotel.
yes,
And there must have been a gas leak someplace along the line. While we were in there, the ceiling blew off.
my
So
God,
we were fortunate to get out of there.
Yes.
But, that was that fire, and that was a bad one.
yep,
And that was about day or a week before Christmas or a couple days. Or
Okay, I was going to ask what date or time of year that was.
It probably is on there.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And at the fire, at the tavern where Buschmann's used to own,
Yes.
there too, I have no one member of the fire department, but I was just gonna go and make the lights out in front of the house, and the fire trucks go flying by. And I looked out the window and there were blazes out there already, so I took off too. But I was just a spectator there, but
Okay.
fire was going on the outside wall up.
Okay.
And I don't know, with all the water we have now with the fire department, I thought they could have got it out a little sooner, but I shouldn't say that.
Okay. And what year was that? Do you remember offhand, roughly?
I don't remember. Remember?
2 years ago, maybe?
More than that.
Okay.
Been more than 2 years ago?
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I always remember when Donald Gold for Buschmann's, at the end of the year, they had this delicious steak fry. And I think Gordy Pippard made the steaks. Am I right, Rosie?
People here who can help themselves in a tandem here, and in regard to some little partying after the season was over or so in the backyard.
Yeah, we always sponsored the 2 teams, and then these guys and their wives would all be invited for the big dinner, and yeah, I guess Gordy was out there frying the steaks for everybody, and
Okay.
well, it was a good time was had by all.
Okay. Lloyd, anything you can recall there?
That's about it. I mean, after the bowling season, we had that steak fry and bus stop party.
Well, also there was some liquid refreshments.
Oh, naturally, naturally.
We can't forget that, yeah.
Now, did you ever partake of the old Boilermaker, the shot in the beer type thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even block and tackle,
A block and tackle. Could you describe what that is a little bit?
a beer and a wine.
A beer and a wine. Okay. Okay.
Some of them had that too.
Yeah.
And Mogan David wine was such a big thing in those days, and I don't think you find it anywhere now.
Oh.
It's just and Muscatel.
Okay.
Yeah, that was another one of them.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Please.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. Rosie, who were some of your suppliers? Where did you get your soda, beer, food from?
Yeah, there's all these different distributors. Am I supposed to wait for you?
I'm just coming to you, dear.
Okay, I'm Rosie Bushman. Yeah, we had the Budweiser beer, we had the Schlitz beer. Well, Jack Lewis had a business in the village, so we patronized him. And Pabst was there, and we Keel Bottling, and I'm trying to think of 50/50. Who handles that?
Was Fallenstein in it?
Fallenstein, I think, was that. Yes. But I don't know the names of the companies anymore. And then Badger Liquor was a big supplier for us, because we sold Aristocrat brandy and Kessler whiskey was our top sellers, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 7-Up sodas and stuff like that.
Okay.
What about the food?
What?
The fish,
The fish, the very first years we got them from Art Hingus when he would catch them out here on Lake Michigan.
Really?
Yes, but then he got a little old and he didn't supply us like we wanted it.
Yes.
And so we went to Lottie's in Manitowoc and got our perch there, fresh perch. And I breaded them all, hand breaded myself with no machine or anything. It was, so we didn't have a thick breading on. And we sold them for 50 cents a piece. And then after a while, we charged, I think, a nickel more for going out for packaging.
Okay.
And still they thought some was too high. But anyhow, yeah, we did up to 200 some Friday nights on fish fry.
Really?
And that was a lot for that little bar.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you would go into business, did the suppliers come to you and try to work a deal, or did you have to go to them?
No, they come to you.
They came to you?
Yeah. Oh, and then we also had like Levittown fruit. We'd get like cases of lettuce. Instead of coleslaw, I always serve lettuce salad with my fish fries.
All right.
So we'd always get that through a dealer, Levittown Food. And then there's the cigar man. Oh, we sold cigars in Copenhagen and Plowboy and you name it. Cigarettes were $1 a pack. That I remember.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What
Okay.
else is there?
Was there Coke at that time?
Oh, yes, there was Coke and Pepsi. Only we didn't have a diet and a caffeine-free, and nowadays I couldn't begin to think how many kinds of Pepsi that there really are on
Yes,
the market.
I agree.
And when you buy it, it's always the wrong one for the people. Yeah, years ago, there was no all that diet stuff
Okay.
at all. Everybody drank what was there.
Did you have any kind of a specialty that was unique to your bar and eating place? Was there something that you always could count on as your staple ingredient
Well,
there?
we did, New Year's Day, we had, what do you call those milky drinks, those?
Eggnog?
Yeah,
Eggnog.
We'd serve that free New Year's Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were open till noon,
Okay,
and we served them all in the morning.
okay,
And every Sunday morning, we had eye opener.
Okay.
You could come in and have your 10-cent glass of beer, but you'd also get a shot of something, whatever you wanted.
okay.
Like peppermint or spearmint or, oh no, spearmint wasn't on the market either then, but peppermint, whiskey, brandy, you
Sure.
know, something like that.
Okay,
And that was always drew a big crowd to them.
okay. Now, to get into the bar-type business, not everybody in this area right here in this room would want to attempt to become a bartender or to own a business. What indicated to you people that you'd like to do this?
It really wasn't my idea.
Boy, you're good, I'll tell you.
Well, he can't fend for himself now he's not here. But no, I really wasn't real sure, but then I enjoyed it. I
Okay,
got along well.
okay.
I know how to talk.
Yeah, you do all right, you do fine. Thank you.
Richard Wigan, a couple more questions. Did you do any catering? Okay, and underage?
What was her answer, Richard?
She said no.
Okay,
Underage drinkers, anybody ever cause any problems there?
We didn't have it too bad. No, I would say, wouldn't mention it.
Was that 18 years at that time?
Well, yeah, Tavern, maybe 21.
No, I think it was 21, huh?
Yeah, Tavern was 21.
I think
Okay.
it, yeah.
A beer bar.
We had the teenage bars.
Oh, that's
Yeah. But of course, younger people, you know, could go past your bar and go into the restaurant, right? That wasn't an issue.
Oh, we could still serve hamburgers and stuff to the young ones. You
Okay.
just couldn't have alcoholic beverages.
okay. Did you have any camaraderie with other small taverns around the area, such, I'm gonna just use an example like Sester's and Mimi or Hillstrom's or things like that in Osmond or anything like that? Did you have any touch base with those people?
Did we patronize them?
Patronize them or they come to you?
That's, you had to do that.
Okay.
You go there and you buy a drink for the house, and they come back to you and buy a drink for the house, you know?
Okay,
Oh, yeah, that we did with lots of them in Kiel and all over.
okay, okay.
There wasn't too many bars we didn't know.
And that was part of the business, I imagine, huh?
I guess so.
Okay, very good, thank
Get
you.
more people to come to your bar that get to know you.
Sure, very good, very good.
Richard Wigan, if you have any more questions, just raise your hand. For Rosie, we have another gentleman here this evening named Roy. Is it Roy Lipke? And
Yes.
he brought some information in on some churches. Was it the Reformed Church in Cleveland here?
Okay,
We'd like to cover that also. I'm
All
not
right.
giving you a lot of time, but he's got some materials there to show us.
okay, very good. Any further questions then for the lady at the far end of the table here pertaining
Well, if you think
to,
of something, just, you know, we'll just keep going, but let's
okay,
see what he's got.
all right, just 1 second, please. Gentleman here who wants to give us some information about a church, and he'd like to introduce himself. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Roy Lipke, and
And where do you live, Roy?
I live close to Manitowoc. I'm originally from town Mimi.
Okay,
And the question was put to me if I knew anything about the old Cleveland Reformed Church, what stood near the railroad tracks.
okay,
And quite a number of years ago, I was to the Register of Deeds and got the original letter of incorporation, which is dated 1906, and it's signed by Dassler, Gussie and Robert Baylitz. I believe Robert Baylitz was the father of Gilbert Baylitz. And Gilbert Baylitz at that time had a postcard which he had lent to me. And in my search at Lakeland College, in the museum part, I have the original letter, which the 75th anniversary of the Sheboygan classes, and which is transcribed to English, which...
Okay, I was looking at that. I couldn't read a word. Something here, and he'd like to introduce himself, please.
Yeah, my name is Richard Wiegand. I'm holding up a photocopy here. It's a picture of a minister, I believe, of the church, Funk. I think it was Reverend Funk. And there's in the lower part of the paper here is a picture of what's called the Ebenezer St. John Reformed Church of Cleveland. I believe that's what the name was, official name. And I don't know what the dates are. Do we know when this church was built and when it was torn down, and anything about the founders besides the Baylitz?
Okay. Just one second.
That you mentioned, maybe you know. I don't know who it is.
I'll check with him. Thank you. And for this gentleman, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Roy Lipke. In regards to when the Cleveland Reformed Church, I believe the research that shows that they were preaching began in the years, and services were being held down in the hall in Cleveland. And most of the time the church was pastored from the St. John's Ebenezer Church, which no longer exists. That was to about 4.5 miles to the north in Centerville, where Eddie's Steakhouse, which is now the Packer Inn. The cemetery is there. But that sort of was the mother church of that. And in 1906 is when it was officially incorporated. It's on volume 4, page 183 in the Book of Incorporations, and they were registered as the Free Evangelical Reformed Congregation, which was signed by H.F. Dassler, F.W. Gussie, and Robert Baylitz. And according to the information that Charles Bauer located, according to the Register of Deeds, the sale of 8 acres in the section 28 was from a Friedrich A. Hingis and wife Ida. The church actually purchased the property August 12, 1908 for the sum of $250.
And that was in what area?
That was right down in Cleveland.
Okay.
It's, what is the name of the street?
Hickory.
On Hickory Street.
Okay. And on what side of the tracks would that have been?
That would have been on the west side of the track.
Okay.
That is all subdivided into houses. But to follow the history chronologically,
okay,
there was a letter that showed up in the St. Paul's history of the Reformed Church in town Mosel. There is a letter from the Sheboygan classes from the meeting, which was dated the 19th of June, advising them with the Mission Church at Cleveland to form one charge. And the records show that from 1909 to 1911, they were served by the Reverend Jacob G. Schmidt, who resided down in the town of Mosel. The church was only tied together for those 3 years. And when Reverend Schmidt left, then in 1912, the charge was completely broken with St. Paul, so their status changed back to a mission church again. So they were served out of the St. John Ebenezer in Section 3 of town Centerville, which is 4 miles to the north, County Trunk F and Center Road. And then they were served by a Reverend A. Kurtz from 1907 to 1950. And in 1915, a Reverend Hauser served for a time. And then we get to 1920 when Reverend Hauser leaves, the Reverend Alfred Funk takes charge and serves there. And the record, according to his writing in the Sheboygan Classes book in 1929, he claimed that they had show in 1920 a membership of 30 communicant members and 12 not yet confirmed, which would be a total of 42. The 1922 records show they had 5 confirmands, which were recorded in the Rooster Church records. They were Adeline Baylitz, Erla Baylitz, and Gilbert Baylitz, Nelda Barr, and Lily Barr. In 1923, the pastor declined his mission support of $150. A ladies' aid society was established, and the organization pledged to support the church treasury at $50 per year. By 1924, according to Reverend Funk's writing in 29, the congregation had no real prospect of growth or long-term survival. It only raised a total of $200 for the salary of pastor, and some of the members had moved away, and by 1927 the Ladies' Aid had disbanded due to a lack of membership. And 1928 the record shows there was only 20 communicant members. 3 were unconfirmed, of which 2 would be confirmed in the spring of 1928. In 1929, Reverend Funk left the church, and the church completely fails with the hard times following the stock market crash of 29. In 1935, there is documentation from the courthouse that those 8 acres of land were sold to Henry and Louise Franzmeyer in 1935 for the sum of $376, with the money going to the Mission House Seminary in Town Herman, which is Lakeland College today. The seminary moved away in 1962. That document was signed by the Reverend John Moore, the president of the Sheboygan Classes at that time, and the Reverend Caleb Hauser, secretary. And from 1935 to about 1970, Henry and Louise Franzmeyer utilized the land until their deaths. The son passed to their son, Edward Franzmeyer, and according to the courthouse records, 1975, Edward Franzmeyer sold to Myers Incorporated of Alders. Document number 504963, dated 18 November 1975. It's the exact same description of the 35 acres which was sold to the Franzmeyers in 35. And the transfer, the consideration on that paper says $1, a transfer fee of $2, and received for recording the 19th of November at 10:58 by Robert B. Brandel, the Register of Deeds. The church building was raised then, and the cement blocks are buried on another location in the village of Cleveland, and the land was divided for several homes at Hickory Street. And my question is there anyone who knows where those cement blocks were produced? The old Baylitz house is of those same type. Someone told me those cement blocks were produced right here in the Cleveland, Hika, Centerville area. Does anyone know where that block plant existed? And Myers Incorporated is known as Myers Builders today. And the other question that I would pose, why would Edward Franzmeyer, the consideration only be for $1 and $2 for the transfer fee? Was he obligated to tear down and get rid of the church? And did he have to pay for what? When did the sewage go in? For subdividing. It just strikes me funny that he would have got 8 acres of land of prime real estate property in the village of Cleveland for so little money.
Okay, very good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look at introduce himself again, please.
Roy Lipke. In regards to the Cleveland church, I did write to the Evangelical and Reformed Church Society to see if they would have any more information, being that Lancaster, Pennsylvania was the headquarters of the Reformed Church. And when I received my reply back, the only thing that they sent back to me was the information that I had sent them in the early 80s. There was no information in the church archives. So all that exists is what we can turn up here locally, and between what exists of the old Sheboygan Classis record, which probably is in the museum and library over at the Lakeland College in the Catherine Kruger Museum there.
Okay, Roy, you indicated you were going to compile some documents together and do what with those?
I intend to compile as close a history as I can get and put the documents to support when the land was bought and the organization, and put it into a booklet and put those to the various historical societies that it does concern here in Manitowoc County and Centerville, and also the public library.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Richard Wiegand, we now have a question as to who made the blocks for the church, I guess, and you're
Yes.
saying that it could have been locally. I have another question. Where were the church blocks buried? The ones that were taken away? I presume they went for fill somewhere. I don't know. And okay. And the other thing is, then apparently the Rooster Church was the Ebenezer St. John that was mentioned here. Was the Rooster Church over on F? There's two
They
cemeteries
were
there.
both referred to as Rooster churches.
Well, both of them.
The
one in Cleveland?
No,
those two.
One and two.
Oh, there were two of them.
Okay, can you explain that for Richard?
Roy Lipke, to clarify the matter of the Reformed churches. The mother church of the Cleveland Reformed Church was by County Trunk F, where the Eddie's Steakhouse or where the Packer Inn is. Center Road, where the cemetery is.
It was on the cemetery area there?
Right, it is where it was right on that corner.
Okay.
It was a cream brick church.
Okay,
And those bricks were probably produced down in Centerville, as were the cream brick church, because 2 miles further down, that Reformed church still does exist. That's in the town of Newton.
could you describe the
Okay, the
road,
peop-
the street or location on that?
The Rooster Church is on County Trunk C and Center Road.
Okay.
It's exactly 2 miles further to the north from what was St. John Ebenezer.
Okay,
And that church, those two churches originally were together with the same pastry. Those from the town of Newton came from the Rhineland, and those in Centerville Church were from Lippe, Detmold area.
okay, now
The
we're
two-
talking Germany.
Right.
Okay,
And those two churches were together from their organization in 1854
okay,
until they completely separated in 1862. And then they were two separate entities.
okay,
And the church in Centerville, St. John Ebenezer, closed its doors in 1950.
okay,
And the reason that the other church still exists as a Reformed church, it never did approve of the merger of the old evangelical German church with the Reformed Church of the German Reformed Church and the old evangelical church. They failed to ratify that in 1934 and 35. So when the Sheboygan Classis was basically dissolved, they went into what was the Eureka Classis, which were the churches in the western United States. So today that is the only old German Reformed church in the entire state of Wisconsin, to my knowledge, and they only have about 30 to 32 other churches, mostly scattered into the western plain states, into Nebraska and the Dakotas.
okay. Very good. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut in a little bit on you, Richard. We had a question about the blocks. I don't know if you want to finish that question?
Yes, let's do the block. The answer's down
The
there.
answer's down here. Okay, we're going to take a walk down here and hope I don't trip over my big toe. And you can identify yourself, please?
I'm Vernon Kress.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the church, taken down by a junior son, and he hauled them over to some swampland west of the Cleveland Co-op,
Okay,
and it was later used for fill, and they made a parking lot out of it.
okay, okay. And that was a cement block now?
Right.
Was it a special design cement block? It had sort of contours on it?
Right.
Okay, and now Roy has indicated he wanted to know if that block was ever made here locally.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I do not know.
Don't know. Thank you. Who maybe can resolve some questions that have been kicked around. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Walter Kress.
Yes, Walter?
The question came up of where the cement block were made.
Yes, sir.
I have an idea that they were made down in Hika, across from the feed mill.
Okay.
I'm not positive of it, but that's what I heard when I was smaller.
And do you happen to know any kind of name of the people that manufactured this? Okay, let me ask you another question. The block itself, can you describe it a little bit compared to what we are used to seeing as cement block?
It was like the same size as a regular cement block, only it had a facing on the front.
Okay.
Design.
Design. It's scallop design?
Scallop design.
Okay. And again, you know where the location is, but at this time, no name.
No name, no.
Okay, let's see if somebody else can help us. Thank you. Oh, by the way, what street was that on?
Franklin.
Franklin Street? Thank you. Who is going to resolve some more questions? Go right ahead.
Richard Wiegand, just to comment on what Wally Kress was saying here, the location, the possible location of this block manufacturing company, whatever it was, many, many years ago, was in Hika, but it was on Franklin Street, which is on the north side of the Centerville Creek.
Okay.
It's this street that goes off of Lake Shore and then up to the north.
Okay.
Goes around the corner and then up to the north. There were some businesses there.
All right.
In the past. Second thing I want to mention is where the One Rooster Church was located, the one on Center Road and F. There's actually two cemeteries there. I've been on those cemeteries. I have one, distinguished relative that's on the east one, which is an older cemetery apparently than the one on the west side. Okay. What else did I have? I forgot. Anyway.
Okay, and could you restate that question?
Well, it's confusing what you're telling us.
Okay, he's talking about German Reformed churches, and the mother congregation of the Reformed church that was in Cleveland here was the Ebenezer St. John Church, which was located on Highway F and Center Road.
Okay.
On the corner, and what I'm saying is that was what I thought was called a rooster church. Now, he's saying there were two rooster churches. And I believe it was because they had a weather vane on the top that was shaped like a rooster. So they were called rooster churches. The other one, there's another church, the one I'm talking about on FF doesn't exist anymore. It closed in 1950 and apparently was taken down. There's another Reformed church 2 miles to the north on C, and that's Saron Ebenezer? Or was
Salem
it?
Ebenezer.
Salem Ebenezer, okay. And that's a new building, okay? Okay.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Roy Lipke. In regards to the question about the two rooster churches, the Newton Church built their cream brick church 1 year, and the following year, then the Centerville Church built one that was almost exactly like. And speaking of that, they were referred to as Rooster Church. The Reformed Church in the town of Rhine, many of the old people, because years ago that one had the big metal rooster on weather vane, symbolizing Peter's denial of Christ.
Okay.
And it's still referred to as the Giggelskier. A giggle is, that's Plattdeutsch, I think, for rooster, or Low German.
Okay.
The Giggelskier. There are still many of the old people referred to it as the Giggelskier.
Okay. Very good.
And in regards to the question, the St. John Ebenezer First Cemetery was located down the road to the east, the small cemetery.
Okay,
And then they started one by the church.
all right. Do you have any in your archives that you've checked, any of the communicants that belong to the church, their names of, of roughly some prominent names that might have been there?
No, it was only the three names who were the signees
Okay,
of the incorporation.
all right.
And then because there was these five, which appeared down in the Rooster Church's record, that those five were confirmed at the Cleveland Mission Church that particular year.
Okay.
Other than that, it's all basically guesswork. It's too bad that that Gilbert Baylitz no longer lives. There would be lots of questions that I would have for him now.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think it will, but.
Well, I know.
8:30, it's cut off.
Okay, we were looking for information on this church for a long time, so
Okay,
any
yes,
more
we were.
questions? Go right ahead, please.
Well, my name is Richard Wiegand. I have a comment to add to Roy's research here. My ancestor, Karl Wiegand, came from Lippe-Detmold in Germany, and he was a member of the Evangelical Church, which may be an ancestor to the one in Mosul now. He went, anyway, the church records are in the Mosul Reformed or United Church of Christ for the first generation of my family. And then, of course, he married Lutzi and they became Lutheran after that. The other thing I want to mention is that I have been in Lippe-Detmold. I spent 5 days there doing research on my ancestor and never found any evidence that he existed, but then again he had some political problem, he fled, or he had a crime, I don't know what he did. But there is a huge statue of one of the kings named Herman in the middle of Detmold, and that's where town Herman gets its name. And when I was going through the archives, what's called the Staatsarchiv in Detmold, with some help, of course, because my German isn't very good, but I was able to. There is a write-up of this entire movement of people that went to Mission House, the Reinekings and the Arpkes and the Peepers, all those people that moved and started that thing in Sheboygan County. There's a history of that in Germany, in Detmold, mentions all the people who left and went and started this colony in the United States.
Oh,
That's
wow.
on the record there.
Wow, great. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Who thinks he can resolve something? Go right ahead, please, and introduce yourself.
Charlie Bauer, and we were talking about the classic church here, and the discrepancy between the $1 transfer fee and the $2 transfer fee. And when I was going through it, there's a lot of transactions that took place on that property. Every time the phone company went through, you had to get an easement and a right-of-way, and everything is documented. And I think when Meyer bought the property, I think they paid this Franz Meyer the amount of money which came up to $1 transfer fee, and the $2 transfer fee was the back taxes they had to pay on it.
Okay.
And that went to probably the county.
Okay.
And I think that's why you come up with a $1 transfer fee and a $2 transfer fee on a piece of property. That's just my best scenario on that.
Okay. Thank you. Posted, he can settle everything here. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Willard Mathias. I was on the village board at the time.
Okay.
When Meyer bought this property. And he came and asked if I knew Mr. Franz Meyer, and I said, yes, I do. I know him good. And then, Danny and I went over to talk to Mr. Franz Meyer, and I could relate to him a little bit better than Danny could because I could talk German.
Ah, yes.
So when we were all done, he bought the property for $5,000.
Okay.
He has to remove the church.
Okay.
And but then he was going to have somebody else remove it, but then it would cost him too much, so then he got a hold of Fritzie Solin's kid, young son,
Okay.
and he demolished it.
Okay.
But Meyer bought it from him for $5,000.
$5,000. And what year was that? Can you recall that at all?
Well, the way he said it's 1975.
75.
75. Very good. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Willard. Appreciate that. Interesting evening. Two great subjects, but Cathy can give us a little summary, if you will. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I want to thank Rosie for the wonderful presentation of their establishment. It was really great, and also Roy for enlightening us with some more information about the Reformed Church of Cleveland, or whatever it was. So, and that's about it, and I want to thank everybody for coming. And I hope we see you all again next month. It seems it's always getting more interesting.
What are we doing next month?
Next month, we're going, Jerry Yost is going to come, and Roger, and then Irene, I hope, comes, and we're going to have the Yost Industries and also Taple Hardware.
Taple and Thomas.
And Thomas, okay, and then anybody that has information, please bring it along, pictures or anything.
Okay.
The second Monday in
August, and it is?
the 11th.
The 11th, okay.
And you don't know exactly if it'll be here or?
It'll be here, because we can't get the town hall, we have to pay rent now. So I thought it would be nicer to put it into taping, that we get the tapes rather than pay rent for it. But yeah, we would have to pay rent $10, so I decided to come back here, this is free.
Okay.
Nice chairs, too.
Nice chairs.
Yeah, and it's big enough, you know, and,
Yeah. Works out good.
6:30.
6:30? And could you repeat the date one more time, Kathy, just so we got it all?
August 11th at 6:30, the second Monday in August.
Okay, very good. And to wind down the evening, I'd just like to, again, because of the large group, and they've provided a lot of information, we would like you to introduce yourself one more time, and we'll go from there.
And
Starting out.
perhaps give our address, Jerry.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Thanks, Kathy.
Melvin Hayes, and I live at 871 Linden Street now, and I was brought up in the town of Centerville, and I was born in 1930.
Wow, that's a good bit of information. No, follow that one.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and I live at 9716 CTHX Newton, and that's on the way to School Hill, and I was born near Kiel in the Township of Eaton.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I'm Richard Wiegand, and I grew up in town Centerville on Union Road. I now live in Columbus, Wisconsin,
Okay.
and I was born in 1948, and I think I'm the youngest person here.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Charlie Bauer, and I live at 9911 Highway C, Newton, and I was born and raised in Newton, grew up in Newton, and I was born in 1945.
Very good. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Dorothy Anderson, and I live in the house I was born in,
Okay.
literally. And that's down in Hika,
Okay.
220 Lincoln Avenue.
Very good. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Edith Lindsay, I was born in the town of Liberty in 1920.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Very good. And you, ma'am?
Kathy Wagner, and I live at 334 East Washington Avenue. I was born in the city of Sheboygan, and I came to Cleveland in 1944, and I've been here ever since.
Okay, great. And you, sir?
I'm Vernon Kress. I live at 1279 Washington Avenue in Cleveland. I was born in Cleveland in 1920.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Florence Kress.
Huh?
I was born in
I was born in Mimi,
Okay,
1924.
very good. Thank you. And you, sir?
Lloyd Vogel, I live at 1109 Elm Street, and I was born in Cleveland in 1931.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm Rosie Bushman. I was born in Sheboygan, city of Sheboygan.
Okay.
I now live in the town of Sheboygan, 932 Page Court.
Very good. Thanks so much. And you, sir?
I'm Roger Miller. I live in Sheboygan, 1430 North 15th Street.
Okay. And you were born when?
1930 in Kiel.
In Kiel. Oh, okay. Thank you. And you, sir?
Dave Cole. I was born in the town of Herman, Sheboygan County in 1944. I
Okay.
moved to Cleveland in 1973. I
Okay.
live at 349 Lincoln Avenue in Centerville.
Very good. Thank you. And you, sir?
My name's Edmund Schmidt. I live at 820 Westview Street. I was born in the town of Centerville in 1926.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. And you, sir?
I'm Walter Kress. I'm born in 1920 in Cleveland, 350 East Washington Street.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm Florence Kress.
Yes, Florence.
And I was born in Cleveland, and off-ramp coming from Sheboygan, that house that they just moved a few years ago.
Okay.
And I was born in September of 22.
1922. Thank you. And you, sir?
I was born and raised in the village of Cleveland.
Okay.
And in 1926.
Okay, and your name, sir?
Willard Mathias.
Ah, yes, Willard. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
I'm Alice Mathias. I was born in Halder, that's Merced County.
Oh,
Came
okay.
to Manitowoc when I was 2.
Okay.
And when I was 23, I got married and came to Cleveland.
Ah, very good.
Lived there since.
Very good. Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Irene Dine. I was born in Sheboygan in 1930, came to Cleveland in 1931, never left.
Wonderful. Very good. And you, sir?
Roy Lipke. I was born in the city of Sheboygan. I grew up in the town of Mimi, right just to the east of town Centerville. And I live at 2400 Highway 42.
And when were you born again?
1945.
1945.
You'd be in the lake if you were.
Oh, west.
Oh, very good. And I'm the videographer, and my name is Jerry O'Neill. I was born in the town of Liberty on Highway 42 and in 1937, and I presently live at 7301 Range Line Road in the town of Newton. So I thank everybody for coming this evening. You're very informative on all your subjects, and the good questions were brought about, and we hope to see you the next time. Thank you.